Yo, what's going on YouTube? Los here, coming at you with another video. This time, I'm coming at you with my 10 comic collecting commandments. Alright, so if anybody's heard Biggie and he has the 10 crack commandments, well, these are my comic book commandments, right? So when I'm collecting, these are the things that I tried to follow to make sure that I don't get off track, right? I know this hobby it can go off the rails really quick, right? So this way, it's a way for me to focus, stay on track, get the books that I want, and not get myself into trouble, all right? So with that being said, let's go into commandment number 1. So commandment number 1 for me is collect what you like, and you won't be disappointed, right? So I know it's a cliche, but it's true, right? If you go out and spend your money on a book that you really didn't care about or whatever, over time it's going to diminish its value, just not in a sense of monetary value, but personal value. It's just going to lose all meaning, and who the hell wants a book that you don't really care about? So you stick to that, you'll be all set. Number 2 is buy within your means, right? So for me, I try to stick to a budget, right? I know it's tough, but this is how you can get into trouble financially, right? And this is a hobby that's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be an enjoyable hobby, so you don't want to get yourself into financial trouble. So basically, buy within your means, right? If you can't afford a book, hey, you know what? There's always more books out there. Maybe you might have to spend more for it later, but you can always get that book, right? There's plenty of books out there. Number 3 is do your research, right? Before you buy. This is also going to help with commandment number 2, right? So I try to do my research before I buy a book, and what I mean by research is I try multiple sites. I look for deals. I try not to jump on the very first book, because you never know, there could be somebody else the next day that lists another book for cheaper. So try to find different sites to find books, right? I use eBay and Hip Comics and all types of different avenues to try to find books, flea markets and all types of things. So go out there and try to find the book. Don't just jump on the first book you see, because you might end up overpaying, and nobody wants to do that, right? So my number 4 commandment is, before you buy anything, try to negotiate, right? So you never know what somebody's willing to accept if you don't negotiate, right? If you just buy the asking price, you never know what you could have got it for, right? People always trying to sell their things, right? So whether it's eBay, whether it's a flea market, whether it's your local comic shop, right? Their main thing is to move product, right? They're trying to get the books out the door. They're not trying to keep anything, right? So if they have it for sale, more than likely they might be willing to negotiate, right? Because the longer it sits there, they're not actually making any money, right? They want to move it. So I always say, hey, you know what? It doesn't hurt to try, right? Try to negotiate, try to get a better price, try to get a fair price. You're not trying to rip anybody off, but try to get a good deal, right? My number 5. So this one right now is a good one for what's happening in the market right now with all the speculation, right? And it's don't let FOMO let you spend more than you have to, right? Be patient. I know a lot of these ratio variants. I know a lot of these hot books come out right now, and if it's one of those things where maybe you're a flipper, if you have the book or whatever, that's fine. But if you don't have it, hey, you know what? Wait for it, and it might come down, it might not, but you know what? You can always get this book, right? If you miss out on it at getting it at cover price or whatever it is, chances are you might be able to get it a little later on. So just be patient. Don't let that FOMO, that fear of missing out, get you. I know it's gotten all of us. Just don't try to make it a habit. So my number 6 is, again, selling books to get other books. It's perfectly okay, right? Whether it's a book that was already in your PC and you're just trying to sell it to make room for other books, or it's a new book that ends up getting hot and you want to flip it for another book, it's okay. You know what I mean? You don't let people tell you otherwise, right? I try not to let it affect me. I'm not a major flipper by any means, but if I do have a book in my collection, or if I was able to buy a brand new book that all of a sudden a couple months later or whatever it becomes hot, and now it was a cover price book and now it's $40-50. If that book really doesn't have any meaning to me, and I can flip it and get money for some more Silver Age or any books that I kind of want, any keys, I'm gonna flip it, right? Don't let anybody make you feel bad that you're flipping a book, right? It's a way to make this hobby pay for itself, right? None of us are millionaires and stuff like that. Well, maybe some of us are, but I'm not. So if I have an opportunity to sell a book, to get another book, I'm all for it, right? So number 7, and this is a big one for new collectors and people that like to get modern books, right? So it's, for me, if I'm only able to buy one copy of a book, I try to read it as carefully as possible. And if I don't want to read it, I will, or I don't want to open up the book to damage it. What I'll do is I'll try to read it digitally, right? So I still get a chance to read the book, but I don't damage my one copy, right? So if for any reason that book turns out to be a hot book, or a spec book, or it's a first appearance or whatever, now that book has not been damaged, and I still got a chance to read it. And if if for any reason I want to flip it, it's in good condition, right? Number 8, right? And this one's key in this hobby, because I know a lot of people are, not a lot of people, but some people are guilty of it, right? And it's respect the hobby, respect other collectors, right? None of us collect the same way, right? Which is a good thing. But whether you've been collecting for 30, 40, 50 years, or you just started, if you have a massive collection with a crap ton of keys, or if you just started and you basically have these runs that you just want to read them and you don't care about any key issues or whatever, that's fine, right? Respect the hobby. That's what I try to do. I don't shame anybody for what they collect or how they do it. If you want to be a flipper and you just get a bunch of books to flip, hey, you know what? Good on you. If you're able to do that, so be it, right? If you're able to just get books because you want them, go for it, right? If you want to just get all key issues, go for it. If you want to just get all variants, go for it, right? You want to collect all slab books and they all need to be CGC 9/8 white pages, go for it, right? If you have that kind of cash and you can do it, go for it, right? Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, right? But just respect everybody's decision on what they do, right? Again, because not everybody collects the same way. So if somebody wants to collect a certain way, hey, you know what? Encourage them and say, hey, you know what? How can I help in any way, right? So, and it's just gonna make the hobby more fun, right? Number 9, again, it's one of those things where it doesn't matter how long you've been collecting in this hobby, right? Don't be afraid to ask questions, right? You can always learn something, so right? And I've been collecting for a while, on and off, but in my younger years, I did collect for a long time, and then I got back into it. I've been collecting for over 10 years now again, and you can always learn something new, right? There's so much to this hobby. There's so much information out there, and don't be afraid to ask questions, right? I don't care if you've been collecting for 40 years. There's some things you might still miss, right? And if you're a new collector, definitely don't be afraid to ask questions, right? Don't let it, you see all these people with these grand collections and stuff like that. Don't let that, hinder your wanting to get knowledge, right? Go on and ask these people, because more than likely this community is very giving. They will give you their time, and if it's information you need, you can get it, right? There's a wealth of knowledge out there, so don't be afraid to ask, right? And my number 10, right? And this is key, right? This could have been number 1, right? And it's make sure this hobby doesn't affect your family, right? And what I mean by that is, you have a wife, you have a girlfriend, you have kids, right? Don't let it affect it, right? Don't let it encompass you, right? We can get lost in this hobby. There's times when all you want to do is think about comics, right? You know, try to take some time for your family. You know, again, this is a hobby, right? This is supposed to be kind of like a getaway, right? So you can, you know, if you have your man cave, woman cave, whatever you want to call it, right? And you want your escape, take a little bit of time for yourself, go downstairs, read a couple books, wherever you have your collection at, right? By all means do that, right? But don't let it affect your family life, right? Don't let it take away from you going on vacations or trips or wherever with your family, spending those little moments with your family, having movie nights or whatever it is. You know, definitely don't let it affect your family, because nobody wants that. This is supposed to be a hobby that's, you know, you enjoy, so definitely keep it that way, right? You know, keep your family life and say, hey, you know what, I got priorities, I got to do this for my family, and then make sure this is your hobby, right? And if it's not your hobby and it's your job, then, you know, by all means try to incorporate your family into it, right? I know my daughter's starting to read now and stuff like that, and I tried to read them, you know, books every night. Every once in a while, I read them a comic book, stuff like that. So they get into it, and it's a way to just encompass everybody into your hobby. So now, instead of just a hobby for you, a secluded hobby, it could be like a family hobby, right? You guys can go out, go to conventions, and go to, you know, different things, so everybody enjoys it, not just you, right? So guys, everybody, that is my 10 comic book collecting commandments, right? These are rules that I try to not break. It keeps me on course, and, you know, I can always refer to it again if I do veer off on one of these, and I can get myself back, try not to get in too much trouble. And you know, hopefully you take something from this, and you can maybe add these to your commandments. So you know, if you want to, leave them down in the comments down below. You know, we can mix it up, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.